good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is where you are. It is the afternoon here. And welcome to our Pilates for the core short little workout. So for today, we are going to be incorporating our bands. No worries if you haven't got one. All the exercises can be done without, but they can just bring that little bit extra in if you want. So if you need to go and find your band, go and grab it now, and we'll all meet together then in a standing position on the mat. Okay, so when you're ready, bring your feet in underneath your hips and just take a little bit of an easy twist, starting to get the belly and the trunk area, back area moving. And then back into the center. Exhale, start to take a little bit of a round through the back. And then as you inhale, stretch and open the other way. So we fire at the muscles in the back. So rounding and arching. So remembering that our core muscles come all the way down the front, the sides, and the back of the body. It's not, and across the top and the bottom. It's not just the deep muscles in the belly. And then release it down, and we'll get the hips working by just marching up and down on the floor. All right, okay, let's take it down towards the mat. And we're going to use our roll down to come down towards the floor. So breathing in. When you're ready, breathe out. Drop the chin, round down towards the floor. Walk the hands out, bringing the knees in underneath the hip. Hands under the top of the table. And we'll work with our cat stretch. So as you breathe out, squeeze the belly inwards. Wrap it in to push the back up. So we start to fire up the core and warm the core up a little more. Breathe in, arch the other way. So we are arching and firing up the muscles in the back. So breathe out. Squeeze in and round up. Inhale. Arch it back. One more arch in each direction. And then come back into the middle. And we're going to get our glute muscles working, which are kind of some of the extra muscles in that core area. So when you're ready, breathe out. Push the right foot up, keeping the knee bent. Breathe in, pull the knee in towards the chest. So breathe out, push up. And breathe in. Pull the knee in. So try to keep the rest of your back level. So we're just starting to really fire up the muscles in that hip area. So you want to think about them squeezing in to pull the knee up and then back in towards the chest. If you can, we're going to take two more. And then take the right knee down, swap sides, flex the left foot, lift the left leg up, lift foot up, and then exhale, push it a little higher. Inhale towards the chest. So we're not really rounding through the spine too much as the leg pulls in. And see if you can think about where you're feeling it. Maybe you want to feel it in that hip area. Push the back of the thigh upwards. We've got two more. Good. Take the hips then down towards the floor. And we're going to come into the muscles in the back. And we'll work with our swimming exercise. so that we get a little bit of work through the peripheral joints and the limbs, as well as targeting the muscles that run down the back, that form the back of the trunk area. So we're going to unlock opposite arm to leg with swimming. Breathe in, pull the right shoulder up, pull the left hip up, and let that movement spread down to the fingers and the toes. Exhale, lower. Inhale, pull the left shoulder up, the right hip up, and again that's going to wave down towards the fingers and the toes, and lower. So we want to think of the corners of our tabletop, trying to lift away from the floor and stretch out to fingers and toes, so that we're working the line of the muscles across the body. Rather than just trying to kick the arm and the leg up and not thinking about where that movement is coming from. So again, we're aiming for 2 more to either side. So reach up with the right shoulder and the left hip. Left shoulder and right hip. And we'll go for 1 more to either side if we can. And then let the head rest on the hands. Just give the hips a little rock from side to side for a moment. And then we're going to roll around onto your side. And we're going to come into our side bend. So this is going to target the muscles on the side of the trunk. So when you're ready, exhale, push the hips up. If we can, we float the other arm over the ear. Breathe in to lower. So make sure the elbow is stacked under the shoulder so you're nice and secure. And lift. This means our weight's a bit better distributed through the arm than if it was at a bit of a funny angle. Once you're happy with taking the hips up, if you need to keep a hand on the floor, by all means keep the other hand on the floor to help a little bit of extra lift. If we want to make it a little bit more complicated, a bit harder, we can extend one leg, or we can come into extending both legs. So we're going to do 4 more if we can. Remember, we can stop any of these exercises whenever we need to. Last 2, so we've got 2 and 1. Okay, sit yourself up, swap over so that we work the other set of muscles, or how their muscles are working on either side differently. Again, just make sure you've got a nice strong pillow with that elbow in underneath us, and then we're going to breathe out, send the hips up. Option to float the arm over and tap back down. So you want to think about wrapping the core muscles in around the center there for a little bit of extra support, and just tap gently, don't sink all your weight down. And then whenever you're ready, adjust it, extending the legs. Remember, if you need to bring that extra hand in for a little bit of extra support at any point, we can do that. And we're down to the last 4 again on this side. So that's 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 more if we can. Okay, good. Sit yourself up, give your shoulders a roll around, shake the arms out, and we're just going to take both hands and round through the spine, pull the shoulders away, stretch through the back of the shoulders and the arms, and then open back, take that little cactus to squeeze the shoulders back. Maybe a little lift with the chest there too. Good. So this is where we're going to use our band if you're going to use one. So just have it handy if you want to use it. We're going to set the exercise up without, and then you can bring the bands in for a little bit of extra work if you want. So bend the knees, plant the feet on the floor. Take a moment just to check in on how your spine feels like it's resting against the mat, and we want the spine to be nice and long. We're going to use our one leg stretch. So breathe out, float the right heel up, starting to dip the lower back in, so engaging the core muscles to push the lower back into the floor, and then the left leg's going to float up. So remember, we don't want to have any arching, or we're trying to avoid arching as much as possible in the back. All our spines are different, but as soon as we want to we don't want to be using the back muscles. We want to be focusing on the muscles in the belly. So if you feel like the back's starting to take the strain, just reset that spine up. Opposite arm and leg, so we're going to think right hip and left shoulder again. So push the foot away from the hip, float the right arm up from the shoulder, and stretch away, just to try and find a bit more integration with the core muscles working with the limbs. They can lower to the floor if they want, and then breathe in, pull the hip and the shoulder back in to pull the arm and the leg back in, swap sides. So think of the left shoulder lifting up off the floor, which takes the arm up. Right hip is going to push the knee and the toes away. They might only come this far, they might not get towards the floor. And then breathe in when you're ready. Pull the hip back in, pull the shoulder down, and we're ready to swap sides. So we're keeping that awareness of here and thinking of the movement then as the hip and the shoulder trying to lift up and away from the core so that we can stretch out across the body. Come back in from the hip and the shoulder, and then stretch away with the other side. So if you're used to doing this kind of movement, break it down a little bit, challenge yourself by making yourself work that a little bit harder and a little bit more slowly, really having to think about where that movement is coming from and keeping that trunk area strong. This is where we can bring the bands in if you want. So grab your band, and we're going to wrap it around the right foot. So we are going to have to stick to kind of working probably through one side. You can try and keep swapping the feet around with the bands, but it can make it a little bit difficult, a little bit complicated. So bring the left leg up if you can. We're starting with the leg and the foot lifted, just to kind of, again, keep the band from getting caught all up. Exhale, push the foot or the hip and the shoulder away, keep the core strong. Breathe in, back to the center. So breathe out, push the hip away, push the shoulder up and away to stretch the arms out and the legs out. Breathe in, come back into the center. So we're going to aim for 6 more with this side. Obviously, if you haven't got a band and you want to stick to working alternative sides, that's absolutely fine. So the core is going to be a little bit more engaged by having the band, and then also there's a little bit of work for the legs and the arms. We're going to go for 3 more on this side, if we can. You can stop whenever you need to. And then swap the arms and the legs over. A little bit more effort required here. The bands are there. And remember, the further back or down you hold the band, the harder it is to stretch the band away from each other. The higher up, the less resistance you give yourself. Breathe out. Push the left hip and the right shoulder away from each other then now. Stretch out. And then release. Keep that awareness of the core. So as the hip pushes away, shoulder starts to push the arm away. We're thinking of everything being supported by that trunk area, rather than the shoulder and the hip having to work on their own. We're aiming for 3 more on this side. So the last one. And release. Oh, take the band away if you've been using it. Float the feet down. Open the arms out wide. Just let the shoulder blades release back. Start to give a little rock with the knees from side to side. So as the knees rock one way, stretch the fingers the other to bring a little bit of movement through the shoulders. And then we're going to roll the knees all the way around to the side. So if the knees have gone to the right, stretch out through those left fingers. And then exhale. Roll the knees the other way. If the knees have gone to the left, we're stretching out with the right fingers. So we're moving from side to side. So give the muscles of the core a little stretch out. So we get through the belly, the back, and those oblique muscles down the side of the body when we're working on a twist. We can go once more over to the left. Come back into the middle. Let the arms relax by your side. Plant the feet a little bit closer in front of the hips. And we're going to finish with a bridge, a shoulder bridge exercise to give a little bit of movement through the back, but also work through the pelvic floor a little bit more. So on the exhale, drawing through the pelvic floor. So imagine that space at the top of the legs is squeezing in and up. So if you could stop yourself from using the loo, turn the tailbone up. And then we're going to peel the rest of the spine up as far as it'll go off the floor. As we roll up that little bit higher, we want to start to wrap the belly muscles in too. Come onto your shoulders if you can, breathe in. And then breathe out. Roll back down. And we can start to release the core a little bit as we come back to that neutral space on the mat. So exhale. Think of drawing in through the pelvic floor and up through then the belly muscles as we peel the back a little higher. So we're getting those deep transverse abdominis muscles that run across the front of the hips, front of the belly working. And then our ab muscles, our rectus abdominis muscles, our six-pack muscles will stretch at the top. And then breathe out. Roll back down. Good, so moving with the breathing. Thinking about those deep internal muscles switching on to help roll the body up from the floor and then help control it as we roll back down. We're going to have 2 more if that feels okay. and then walk the feet away. Take a full stretch out from fingers to toes. Release the arms, hug the knees in towards your chest. Have a little rock there from side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll ourselves up to sitting. So you can just roll onto your side and push yourself up, or see if you can roll up through the spine. Maybe take a little hover with the feet, just a little extra for the core. And then we can come around onto our hands and knees. Tuck the toes under, walking the hands back towards us until we're ready to push the weight onto the feet. And then we'll reverse our roll down to the floor, rolling up from the mat. Breathe in, float both arms up, and then breathe out. I like that. The arms down by your side. Lovely. Well, I hope that short little workout for the core has got you all fired up in that trunk area. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Leave any comments or questions that you might have. And if you want to join me on the mat again, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then you'll know when my next video comes out. All right, take care now. Bye.